Stop. You haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. In her family's house. The house was immaculate. A sprawling two-story villa gifted by Evelyn's parents as a wedding gift, nestled in a leafy suburb with perfectly trimmed lawns and picket fences. To anyone passing by, the life of Mark and Evelyn seemed like a dream. Newlyweds with a beautiful daughter, Emma, the picture-perfect family. But like many pictures, the gloss only shined on the surface. Beneath the veneer of perfection, cracks were beginning to show. Evelyn had come from wealth. Her family owned several businesses, and she had grown up in privilege, always getting what she wanted. Mark, on the other hand, was a self-made man. He had worked his way up from a modest background, earning a degree and taking a job in a local firm. When they first married, Mark thought he had found the love of his life, and Evelyn was swept away by his honesty and ambition. But after their daughter was born, the dynamic shifted. It started subtly. Evelyn, despite having everything she could want, began to change her tone with Mark. "You know," she said one evening, setting down a glass of wine after putting Emma to bed, "this house? It's my family's gift. We didn't even need your contribution for it." Mark winced but stayed silent. He was used to her jabs about money. She came from a family where wealth was abundant, and her parents had indeed gifted them the house. But that didn't mean he wasn't contributing. Mark worked 2 jobs, his main position at the firm during the day and delivering packages at night, all so he could provide for his family and ensure their daughter wanted for nothing. One night, after weeks of snide remarks, Evelyn snapped during a heated argument. "I'm tired of you coming home late every night. We live in my house, and you still can't provide enough to let me live the life I want." Mark felt a sting of pain. He had been killing himself to keep up with expenses. Between diapers, groceries, and other necessities, he was doing the best he could. "I'm doing this for us, for Emma," Mark said, his voice soft but strained. "I work these hours because I want to give you both everything." "But it's not enough, is it?" she shot back. "You're always working. I'm sick of living like this, waiting for you, wondering if I'll ever have the life I deserve. I shouldn't have to feel like a prisoner in my own home because you're always running around trying to play hero." Mark didn't know what to say. He didn't have the words to fight back. What could he do? He loved his wife, but the weight of the constant criticism was beginning to crush him. Weeks turned into months. Evelyn grew colder and more distant. She began to leave the house without explanation, dressed up in ways she never had before. Short skirts, high heels, and makeup. It was strange behavior for a mother of a young child, but Mark didn't question her. He couldn't afford to. His time was consumed by work, and he tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she just needed to blow off steam, he told himself. But the nagging feeling in the pit of his stomach wouldn't leave. One evening, Mark came home early. It was a rare occurrence. His manager had let him off after a long project, and he was excited to spend time with Evelyn and Emma. But as he pulled into the driveway, he saw something that made his blood run cold. There at the curb was a black car. Evelyn was leaning against the passenger door, her face flushed with the haze of alcohol. She laughed, a carefree laugh Mark hadn't heard in months, and then it happened. She kissed the man behind the wheel, intimately, passionately. Mark watched as their lips pressed together, his heart shattering in slow motion. The rage built inside him, bubbling up until he could barely think. Without thinking, Mark stepped out of his car, slamming the door with a force that echoed through the quiet street. "Evelyn." His voice was loud, raw, full of hurt and anger. She turned, wide-eyed, the color draining from her face as she saw him. The man in the car hurriedly drove away, but Evelyn stood frozen, caught red-handed. "Mark," she stammered, stepping toward him. "I can explain." "Explain?" Mark's voice trembled. "Explain how you've been lying to me. Explain how you've been sneaking around, making me feel like I'm the problem while you're out doing this?" Tears filled her eyes, but Mark was far beyond sympathy. "You think I didn't notice the way you've been treating me? Like I'm some failure because I'm not earning enough for your high standards. While I've been breaking my back for you and Emma, this is what you've been doing? Running around, kissing other men." Evelyn opened her mouth, but no words came out. She tried to reach for him, but he recoiled as if her touch burned. "You've been shaming me about living in your house," Mark said through gritted teeth. But at least I've been working hard for this family. You've thrown it all away." The house was silent that night. Mark had packed a bag and left. He couldn't stay in that house anymore. It wasn't his home, not after what had happened. Evelyn called and texted, pleading for forgiveness. But the image of her with that man played in his mind on a loop. He had given everything, and she had taken it for granted. Days passed. Weeks. Mark moved in with a friend, doing everything he could to keep his life together for Emma's sake. He filed for divorce. He didn't even want to fight for the house. It wasn't his to begin with. And then, a month later, Evelyn showed up at his new apartment. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. "Mark, please," she begged, standing at his door. "I made a mistake. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking clearly. I love you, and I know I've been horrible to you, but please, for Emma's sake, can't we start over?" Mark looked at her, the woman he had once loved more than anything, and felt nothing but a hollow sadness. "Start over," he repeated. "You expect me to just forget everything. You disrespected me, Evelyn. You threw our marriage away." "I know," she sobbed, clutching at his arm. "I'm sorry. I'll do anything. Just come home. I'll stop criticizing you about the money. I'll stop pushing you away. I promise." Mark shook his head. "You don't get it, do you? It's not just about the money or the house. It's about trust. You betrayed me. You kissed another man, and God knows what else you've done. How can I ever trust you again?" Tears streamed down her face as she fell to her knees. "Please, Mark. Please don't leave me. I made a mistake, but we can fix this." He knelt down beside her, his voice quiet but firm. "Evelyn, I'll always be there for Emma. But you and me, we're over. You broke something that can't be fixed." As he walked her to the door, she turned to him one last time, desperation in her eyes. "What am I supposed to do without you?" Mark looked at her, his heart heavy but resolute. "That's something you'll have to figure out." Reader comments, "Wow, the emotional depth in this story is incredible. You can really feel Mark's pain as he discovers his wife's betrayal. I'm glad he stood his ground in the end." Serap, "I think Evelyn got what she deserved. She didn't appreciate a man who was working his butt off for their family. The house might have been hers, but Mark gave his all for their future." Justin 24. "Such a relatable story. I've seen too many marriages fall apart because one partner doesn't realize what they have until it's too late." Daniel, "It's heartbreaking that Mark had to go through that, but I'm proud of him for not giving in when she begged for forgiveness. Some mistakes you can't come back from." True Romantic,